Warning, spoilers for Vinland Saga Episode 1. So the time is finally here. I have decided to watch all of Vinland Saga for the first time ever. I have been hearing so many great things about this series, many people comparing it to AOT, so why not? Let me watch this show and see what I think about it. Now, I am an anime only and I do not know the future of this anime, so please avoid any spoilers in the comment section. The episode begins with this beautifully drawn scenery of a wheat field and this dude called Thoras just lying down peacefully. Now this beautiful scene then cuts to this gruesome battle. I have a feeling that this is symbolizing some incoming doom for Thoras. The wheat field is so bright and vibrant and heavenly that I thought that this was a flash forward into the future. Maybe he and his wife die and this is the afterlife, or maybe he is a daydreamer and wants to be anywhere but this terrible battle in the storm. Regardless, Thoras and his blonde buddy called Thorkel are absolute monsters, taking out all of those men. The action sequences are also really good, with very cool camera pan-arounds. Now, I am not too sure who the main character of this show is because Thoras seems to embody the essence of an anime character. However, the entire second half of the episode is Thorfinn and him wanting to go out into the great unknown world. But going back to Thoras and this battle, the way he charges into battle with no fear is honestly remarkable and inspiring. But at the same time, I feel conflicted on him. Thoras Control-Alt-Deleting these quote-unquote enemies. This one soldier that Thoras has taken out apologizes to someone called Maria. With tears in his eyes, this soldier falls down to the ground and is no longer a part of this world. As soon as he said Maria, my mind went straight to Shadow the Hedgehog and his bond with Maria. But what made this scene so powerful is that in just under 5 minutes, I can already see how morally grey this world is. Even though Thoras is in the middle of a battle, he is showing pity towards this fallen enemy. And then he immediately gets hit with an arrow. It is almost like this soldier with tears in his eyes struck a chord with Thoras, and maybe Thoras feels guilt over his actions and the arrow represents the slight pain in his heart. As Maria will no longer see her fallen soldier buddy ever again. Damn son, I am already so sad. Wah. Moving on from all that, after this badass takedown in the sea, Thoras walks onto the shore and we get this haunting shot of the battle. The footprints in the middle of the frame shows us how one man can change the world when he believes he has the power to do so. I decided to avoid watching the opening to avoid any future spoilers, but listening to the song, I think it's pretty good. We then have a whopping 15 years time skip into the future, and I was a bit surprised to realize that this show is more or less in the real world, with Iceland being the home of Thoras and his family. The artists really captured the coldness yet beauty of Iceland. Something about this scenery makes me feel so sad and nostalgic at the same time. We are introduced to Thorfinn and he does his chores, and OMG, the way the animals are drawn blew me away. I mean, look at the detail, the shadowing, the lighting, the line work. That cow looks jacked. Why does this cow look like a gym bro? Even the nose ring? Damn son. But one thing I noticed throughout this entire montage of Thorfinn doing his chores is that he is not happy at all. This kid looks incredibly gormless and very sad, but the next scene of him listening to Leif's story, we see him smiling for the first time. And the entire scene is so vibrant, filled with nice rim lighting. It reminded me of a bit of OG Attack on Titan when Wit Studio did it. This scene is rather interesting. Thorfinn is so happy listening to Leif's stories, but the moment someone doubts him, Thorfinn slowly changes his opinions. That's one annoying kid being like, yeah, I don't buy these stories. I honestly feel like maybe moving forward into the future, Thorfinn might be someone who is easily influenced by others. But I don't blame Thorfinn for wanting to go outside of Iceland, seeing how hard it is to live their life in Iceland, the cold, harsh weather conditions. But despite all of that, it's nice to see how wholesome their family is for the most part. I say for the most part because the daughter later on is quite judgmental when it comes to the slave in the snow, but how her parents, particularly her father, is more open-minded to helping a stranger out. Something about this dynamic in the family is making me feel uneasy, and I feel like this may result in a division later on in the series. Later on, we get an interesting backstory on what happened to Leif's ancestors. Norway, a beautiful warm country that they once called home, is now taken over by this evil-looking King Harold. I don't know too much about this King Harold guy, but I already hate him so much. I too would be angry if I had to leave such a nice warm place to only then be forced to live in a cold area. But I do wonder what made King Harold's tyranny so bad for people to leave their own country. I feel like that question is more or less answered when the slave talks about how cruel Halfdan, his master, was to him. I feel so bad for him, and wow, I understand why he ran away, because this Halfdan guy is a monster. If he attacks his own men the way he did, what does he do to people who aren't on his side? Damn. The chain scene made me feel sick. However, the scene of Thoras easing the slave's mind was very moving and emotional, talking about this paradise called Vinland. I like Thoras so much. He has a heart of gold, but the strength of a demon. Even though Halfdan is a really annoying character who is an absolute monster, I was quite surprised by how much he shows respect towards Thoras. I do feel like the respect Thoras has is because how much of a strong warrior he is. But I also found the scene of Halfdan being irritated by Thoras wanting to keep the slave and sell the sheep to be very interesting. Halfdan looked irritated, he looked mad. Maybe Halfdan is somewhat jealous of Thoras. How noble this man seems to be and how everyone seems to look up to him. The episode ends with another beautiful sky scenery, and it seems to be setting us up for Thoras and Thorfinn to go beyond Iceland, possibly to find this Vinland paradise. But also, who is this bloke with the scar? Maybe this guy is a long-time rival of Thoras, and maybe episode 2 will be a battle of Thoras versus the Scar Man. Ooh, who knows? Cannot wait for episode 2. So while I do like the episode, I can already tell Halfdan is going to be a bit of a piece of work. And also the daughter as well is very annoying. I don't really like her. I hate how judgmental she is. She might end up being one of my least favorite characters moving forward. Be open-minded, more like your father Thoras. I enjoyed episode 1 so much, but tell me in the comments down below, what did you guys think of all this? Should I continue watching Vinland Saga or not? Tell me. Like this video, subscribe for more Vinland Saga reviews, as well as other anime news updates, reviews, comparisons, breakdowns, rankings and more. But thank you for watching, and as always, a boy do the view signing out.